You know, I think that we often lose sight of how immune to real criticism and transparency and opposition the Obama administration was. The media, as dishonest and disgusting as they are still very powerful, and they completely prostrated themselves in front of Barack Obama. They begged for him to just say a nice word about them or just wink in their direction. It was gross. And that's why it's no surprise that the media, I mean, now when I say that they're dishonest and horrible and they complain so much about Trump, I turn around and look at this and say, well, given what we know about how they were acting under Obama, this is just the exact opposite reaction that they're having. This is an opposite thing. It's opposite day. That's what they're doing. But Obama was able to escape the eye, or even of conservatives for the most part on this one. And, you know, we had a piece on bucksexton.com based on my analysis here on the show and what I've also tweeted out that, you know, the buck stops with Obama, essentially, that there's no way that you can know that this conspiracy, that this soft coup occurred and not view Obama as somehow involved and ultimately responsible. And then the question just becomes, how much was it directed by him? You know, was this on his watch and he bears responsibility, or was this at his behest? And so these people were really just tools of an Obama vendetta against Flynn. There is plenty of evidence to suggest now that that may have been the case. And we know for a fact, based on the events here, that there was bad faith, abuse of power, and illegality even behind the scenes to take down Flynn. And Obama knew about that bad faith, and people around him were acting on it, and he didn't do anything about it. So he's at least somewhat guilty, and I mean directly guilty, of this takedown of Flynn. Now we're just trying to figure out how guilty. And that's where Sidney Powell, the Flynn lawyer, who, you know, we got to give her a hand. We got to give her some applause here. I know she appears on a lot of shows, a lot of radio shows and Fox all the time. I mean, I might have her here, but I feel like there's some guests who you're seeing so much of on TV that, I mean, I value all of my time with you. And so if I feel like someone's done, you know, 100 interviews in 5 days or something, I'm not always that keen to be like, well, let me ask you the same questions everybody else does. But maybe we'll ask her to come on. And I've been aware of her work for a while and been supporting it. I mean, I was tweeting at the president, pardon General Flynn. I mean, I could go back in the archives and check, but maybe a year, maybe 2 years ago. I mean, I've been saying we got to get this done. But here's what Sidney Powell, back to the Obama responsibility in all this, which this, my friends, this is the third rail. This is the nuclear reactor that will melt down if you get too close to it for the libs. They will completely lose their minds. Who's really the standard bearer of the Democratic Party? I don't care that Joe Biden is their nominee. Who do they rally around and point to and say, see, this is what the Democratic Party is really all about? It's not Hillary Clinton anymore. It's not Joe Biden. It's still Barack Obama. So as a symbol for the Democrats, he's very important. And as a, not necessarily a kingmaker, because he wouldn't step in and say he was going to be on Team Biden here, but certainly as an influential figure in the Democratic Party. But even more than that, the story, the mythology of Obama. For decades, you're going to hear people on the left, Democrats, who are trying to turn this country socialist, who will point to Obama as the sort of modern FDR, like the paragon of Democrat Party virtue for a long time thereafter. And that's why they get so testy about it. That's why they get so touchy when you bring up anything that happened with him. And here, anything that President Obama himself may have done that was not acceptable. That was a problem. Here's Sidney Powell, lawyer for General Flynn, giving her analysis of this one. Play 3.
So then they dispatched Comey the very next morning to brief President Trump only on the salacious aspects of the dossier on January 6th to set the news hook for BuzzFeed and CNN to run with the dossier they knew was a lie. Then Peter Strzok is watching CNN report on that and text about he and Priestap sitting there watching it and using it as a pretext to go interview some people. So the whole thing was orchestrated and set up within the FBI, Clapper, Brennan, and in the Oval Office meeting that day with President Obama.
So you think this goes all the way up to the top to President Obama?
Absolutely.
It absolutely does. The only question that remains is not whether Barack Obama was in on it. It's whether Barack Obama was the one directing the whole thing. Because if you read a news story about some European country where after a fair election, the outgoing president used his last weeks in office to target incoming officials and sabotage the new administration, you'd be appalled. But it happened here, my friends, and half the country thinks it was just fine. Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.